Welcome back to the Python Institute. This time we are in lab number 2.1.4.7. Now, if you looked at my prior video, that was only 2.1.2.11. So we actually went quite a few sections in this labs, or in these books here, but this is the next lab on the items here. There are several other activities between these two labs, but this is the next lab, so that's where we're kicking off. In this one, we're talking about variables. I love variables. Variables make life so much easier. Instead of having to say, for instance, I know John, I know Mary, I know Susie, I know Timmy. Basically, what you could do is just say, hey, this is my friend, and this over here is my friend, and that over there is my friend. If you're like me, you suddenly start calling everybody buddy, or hey you, or hey, can I have your attention? You know, being very generic about names. Yeah. So let's see, the objectives. Well, being familiar with the concept of storing and working with data types in Python. All right, so here's our scenario. We have a story. Let's see, once upon a time in Apple Land. John had 3 apples, Mary had 5 apples, and Adam had 6 apples. They were all happy and lived for a long time. End of story. Yeah, definitely not the Mother Goose nursery rhymes, but we'll take it for now. So your task is to create variables called John, Mary, and Adam. Assign values to those variables. Values must be equal to the numbers of fruit possessed by John, Mary, and Adam up here. Having stored those numbers in the variables, print the variables to one line, separating with a comma. Create a new variable called total apples. All right, well, let's get started through this. So first off, what's a variable? And variables are very, very confusing. If you took algebra, you probably hate the idea of letters being in your math, and I don't blame you. They get more confusing than they necessarily should be. But variables basically is a box. So we've got a box here. Think about how you're moving from one place to another. So you go out and you collect all these boxes and you start putting things in the box. So the question is what's in the box? Well, whatever you put in the box is in the box. So for instance, if I wanted to put the number 3 in the box, then the only thing in the box is the number 3. I may then take my Sharpie and I may on the side of it right here write John. So now I have a box named John, and inside the box named John is the number 3. So when I say, hey, what's inside John? You could say the number 3. And that's kind of what we're seeing right here. John had 3 apples. Well, what if I want to put something else in that box? That's not a problem. What I do is I simply put something new in there. For instance, the number 7. Well, what happened to the 3 that was in there? It got thrown away. There's not enough room for more than one thing at a time in the box. The box can only hold one thing. Now, that thing could be a thing of things, but don't worry about that just yet. But basically, it's just a box, and I put a label on the side of the box, and I'm just supposed to know, well, I don't know what value this is. This could be any kind of value in the world. But I know that if I look in the box named John, it's going to have what John's supposed to have. So that's a variable in the simplest of forms. So this lab is telling me I want to create 3 variables. I want to create a John, a Mary, and an Adam. So I want to create 3 different boxes, a John, a Mary, and an Adam. And in order to do that, I just simply type John, and then I say equals. So what goes inside of John? Well, 3. The number 3 goes inside of John. I know it's an equal sign, but it's not really verifying equality. What we're doing here is we are assigning things. A single equal sign is an assignment of value. So we're saying the number 3 goes into John. Next one is Mary. Mary has 5, so Mary equals 5, and then Adam equals 6. So we are assigning the values, assigning the number 3 into the box John, the number 5 into the box Mary, and the number 6 into Adam. And it's just that simple. So let's see, create the values. assign the values, print the variables on one line, separating them with a comma. So what I can do is I can go ahead and use the print statement. Now previously when we've used the print statement, we've done quotes and we've written something inside these. What we can do is instead of quotes is we can actually just type John. And now if I run this, instead of printing out a string named John, it tells me the contents of the box. So it's like saying, hey, what's in the box? And they yell out and they say the number 3 is inside of John. Okay, that works for me. Well, we saw also in previous labs the use of the comma character. The comma in order to separate multiple items or multiple strings, multiple sets of quotes on our page. I can also use it to display multiple variables, such as Mary and Adam. So now if I run it, it will simply print the value of John with a separator. Separator currently is just a space, the number that's inside of Mary, another separator, and the number inside of Adam. So there we go. We printed all the variables separated by commas. All right. Next bullet point, create a new variable named total apples equal to the addition of the 3 former apples. Okay, well, just like before, when we created John, Mary, and Adam, we start off with the name, total apples. So now we have a new box called total apples, assign equals, so we want to assign the value. And what do we want to assign it? We want to assign it the values that's inside of John, inside of Mary, and inside of Adam. Now, I could do this math myself. I could say 3 plus 5 is 8, plus 6 is 14, or I could have the computer do it for me. So I could actually say John plus Mary plus Adam. Now, you don't have to be as specific with the spacing right here. You could actually get rid of all the spaces here and just have it John plus Mary plus Adam. The spaces make it a little bit more flexible. But we can see when I ran it, there wasn't any error when I ran it, so it worked perfectly fine. Print the value stored in total apples. Okay, print total apples. And now we run it. And now it should come out with 14. There we go, 14, yay! One thing you do have to notice is I started typing this out with a capital T. There is a difference between a box with a capital T for total apples and a box with a lowercase t for total apples. And we can see right here specifically it gives me an error. The name total apples is not defined. And it takes a little seasoning to recognize this. The fact that it's saying total apples with a capital T is different than total apples with the lowercase t. It takes some time, it takes some practice. Just go with it, and eventually those error messages will start meaning more and more to you when you read them. Let's see, so print the value to the console, and then lastly, experiment with the code, create new variables. Try printing a string and an integer on the same line. Now this can be problematic. So for instance, it wants me to print total, inside of quotes, total number of apples, colon, and then total apples. Actually, we were doing commas before. Commas in order, just like up here, commas to separate different items. And so now if I run it, you're going to think it's going to work, and it actually does. Look at that. There's lots of different ways to do this. There's string insertion, where you can then format the string after the fact and put those variables in different locations. This right here is probably one of the easiest methods to do it. However, the string insertion methods and formatting methods sometimes work better due to the formatting capabilities of them. Sometimes they can become more problematic. So there you go. That's lab number 2.1.4.7. Probably one of your first introductions to variables. Again, if you get really confused about what a variable is, just think of it as a box. It's just holding something and you're trying to put something in it, or you're trying to get something out of it.